And welcome back to another episode of the Baseline Bums podcast. It's your host, Rob, aka B-Ball Archives. All of this is brought to you by Love You Hard TV. And once again, AJ, thank you for joining me. But this is a special occasion. We got a first-time bum in the house. Austin from Roundball Renaissance, thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. Pleasure's mine. This is actually my first podcast, so I'm super stoked.
Oh, no
Absolutely.
pressure.
Yeah, no pressure to hit it out of the park. So.
Well, honestly, I've seen a lot of your TikToks, a lot of your content. I think a lot of what you have to say in the basketball space is making a lot of sense. So I thought, let's bring up a smart ball knower like you. So let's chat it up. Yeah, we got a lot of great
Appreciate
stuff.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a lot of great stuff to talk about tonight. Obviously, the Luka revenge game. We saw it last night. Luka, for the first time, squared off against the Dallas Mavericks, and yeah, we saw some drama, some chants against Nico Harrison, which were really, really hilarious. But Austin, when you were looking at that game, what stood out to you?
What stood out to me the most throughout the entire game is that Luka, in a back-to-back game now, is starting to feel and look comfortable within the offense. Mm-hmm. First couple games was really shaky. It was a lot of, is it my team now? Is it LeBron's team still? I'm just going to be over here. LeBron, do what you want to do. But now it seems like Luka is taking the reins from LeBron, and LeBron is finally playing second fiddle.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. And it seemed like LeBron is adopting this mindset like you can facilitate, you can be on ball more, you're the one that's going to drive, collapse the defense. Just dish to me whenever you feel like it's too much. I'm going to cut to the basket. And you saw that with some of his attacking. You saw that because he didn't have those playmaking responsibilities, that he had the energy to exert himself elsewhere. And that was nothing but positive for LA. And yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Luka looks way more comfortable now.
He looks great. I think that trade that didn't go through really helped the Lakers team, because now you have a Dalton Connect. Austin Reeves looks like he just fits in perfectly. Like, I bet LeBron James is going, where was this guy when I was in Cleveland? Because that dude's just a knockdown shooter. And one thing I did pick up on, and I know we're going to talk about Luka, but the Mavs are a good team, man. And once they get healthy, they're going to be tough to beat. And I think we saw that last night is, you're just sitting there going, well, if they had AD, if they had Derek Lively, what's going to happen next? And once they get those guys back, it's going to be a different game. And they see each other in the playoffs. It's going to be fun to watch. Get your popcorn. There's going to be plenty of fireworks. But, that the entire time in the back of my mind, I'm just going, this is not going to be the same team they see in a month.
Yeah, absolutely. I said when the trade happened that trading someone like Luka obviously lowers your ceiling by a significant amount because of who Luka Doncic is, but bringing in AD and leveling that playing field, it raises your floor. You can't possibly be worse than this, as long as Anthony Davis is healthy, which is a huge question mark right now. He's going to be reevaluated in like 10 days, I think. So we'll have more of an idea then. But I think that this trade, even though it looks ridiculous on the outset, I think it definitely made the Mavs a more interesting team and maybe a more level team.
Right. I agree when you mention level. It does balance them a little bit more. And I think it gives them a little bit more of a front court identity that they've been lacking for, let's just be honest, since they had Dirk. So I think, I agree with it from a balance standpoint, but I just can't still wrap my head around the fact that you don't field offers and just try to get the best deal possible. It just seems like bad GM due diligence at that point.
Well, apparently they reached out to Milwaukee, trying to get Giannis. I heard that I think a couple of days ago. So, I mean, that was interesting to kind of hear. Whether it's true or not, it's a different story, because with these NBA rumors, they are insane. So, we'll see, but yeah, it's interesting that they didn't call it. I wish they called the Spurs. We would have given them Mitch Johnson and some draft picks. So,
oh yeah, we would have given them Tim Duncan's next born child. No, I'm just kidding. But But regardless, this created some great drama, and there was 2.9 million viewers that watched the game last night, the most viewed regular season game all year. So, however you feel about the move, regardless of the trade, that created some really nice drama and brought in a lot of eyes.
Yeah, so much for the NBA ratings being down, huh? It just takes a little bit of magic to bring things back up.
A little bit of Luka magic.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
yeah. Right. And even on a night where he didn't shoot that well, he was only 6 of 17, but he still had a really nice triple double, 15 and 12, only 19 points, but still was really contributing elsewhere. And I think that even his short time in LA, just these few games, just these several games, he looks to be getting in much better shape. Like he's rehabbing from that calf injury a little bit. He's getting he's shedding a couple of pounds, and yeah, he looks like he's really about to be the Luka that we saw last year, getting to the finals.
He also looks happier too. Like he just looks happier because those first couple games, you're going, "Hey, buddy, do you need a hug and like a lollipop? Like, what's going on here?" And now he just looks like, "Hey, this is the reality. I'm cool with it now. I've accepted it, and we're gonna try to make a run here."
I think a lot of it for Luka too is where he grew up. He idolized LeBron during all of his pre-draft stuff. You were talking about who do you want to be like in this league, and there's always LeBron. I don't think that effect, that shimmer that he has, just knowing that his locker is right next to LeBron, he's always going to line up next to 23. I don't think that's ever going to wear off as long as LeBron is in a Laker uniform. I think it's always going to be something like gets him ready to go for the game too. So this happiness that we're starting to see from Luka, I think it's like a steadfast thing from here on out.
Yeah, I think they absolutely need that. And it was nice to see former teammates embrace Luka and kind of see that after the game, and there was no really hard feelings. I mean, obviously he's not embracing Nico Harrison. Nico was chilling off to the side in that electric blue suit or whatever the fuck he was wearing. But yeah, it was funny just seeing that back and forth or lack of interaction, but it was nice to see no hard feelings between the players and Luka, because we know at the end of the day this is a business, and guys get shipped out for all kinds of reasons. So yeah, you got to enjoy your time while you can.
Did y'all see Derek Lively clap when Luka made a free throw and he caught himself?
Yeah.
Luka made a free throw and he was like, "Oh shit.
Oh no."
I'm gonna sit on my hands now."
Another clip I thought from that game was really funny too. It was on I think it was in the second half, it was on the right wing. Kyrie had the ball up top and Luka was his matchup, and he seemed excited to guard Kyrie. Not sure why anyone would want to be excited to guard Kyrie, but he was up for it. He said, "Yes, I have to go against this guy in practice all the time. I can now do it on a real basketball game." He seemed like he was having fun.
That's very true. Yeah, I think anytime that you have a guy that you were very close with and you're playing with him in that sense, yeah, you're gonna enjoy that challenge. So yeah, it was nice to see. It was definitely a good game to watch, even though there was definitely lulls within that game. It wasn't a pretty game by any sense of the word, but yeah, definitely must watch television given all that drama.
And with Kyrie Irving's like new haircut and he shaved his beard and stuff, he looks like Udonis Haslam's younger brother. I don't know if you guys got that vibe too, but I was just sitting there going, "Hey, this guy retired."
He's
Sorry,
looking
I
more
watched
like
the game. I watched the game way differently than a lot of people.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, he's looking more like real life Uncle Drew every day. But yeah, so I mean, honestly, yeah, a lot of drama, and I think every time Dallas squares off against Los Angeles, we're going to see a really fun environment, and Luka wanting to prove himself and get that W. So I think it's going to create a rivalry that maybe didn't really exist before, and maybe it existed a little bit, 20 years ago, but when both teams were consistently in the postseason. But at the end of the day, I think that this is going to be something that we're gonna be really looking forward to in the future.
Austin, who do you think wins in a 7-game series if they were to meet each other?
Presuming that everyone is healthy, I want to give the edge to the Mavericks, if only because of their experience going off of last year's playoffs. Obviously, Luka was a big part of that. He was the engine that got them to the finals. But the pieces that they have, and you put in a revitalized Max Christie with a healthy Anthony Davis, I think that the rotation of Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively, and Anthony Davis is going to be absolute hell for Alex Len and Jackson Hayes. I just don't think they can keep up with it. And as much as we've moved away from the center being like this big brooding force, obviously there's Jokic and Sabonis and then Alperen Şengün, like you have those kind of guys. Outside of that, the center position has kind of been devalued a lot. Mm-hmm. But if you don't have a base level, if you don't have a league average center, you are going to get cooked in this league by a 32-year-old Anthony Davis. And that's just the facts.
Yeah, that's very true. A front court presence, even though it's not, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, where you need to just bang down low to set up your offense, you still need a stable front court presence if you're going to do anything. I could not agree more.
Yeah, we're dealing with that right now with our San Antonio Spurs. But
what are you talking about? We love playing Bismack Biyombo big minutes.
I don't mind it right now because that's all we got. But it's not sustainable.
Back to back double doubles, okay.
But Rob, who do you think wins in a 7-game series with the Mavs and Lakers?
I think if both teams are healthy, I think I'm gonna take the Mavericks. I think just barely. I think with like what we were saying earlier, with Anthony Davis fully healthy, I think that they're just a more well-balanced team. And I think that the Lakers would have to answer a lot of front court defensive questions that I don't know if they're prepared to answer. And I think, while Luka would be a lot to deal with, there's situations where you can attack Luka and neutralize him defensively to where his offense is really less of an issue. So I think he's easier to game plan around when you and to be brutally honest, I hate to say this, but he's easier to game plan around than having to deal with that front court with Anthony Davis.
Well, we saw it in the finals last year too. The Celtics, while they are a good offense, right? Joe Mazzulla is an offensive juggernaut on that side of the coaching aspect. But this would have been a much more interesting series for a viewer's perspective, not for me because I'm a Celtics fan, but it would have been a much more fun series if Luka was a league average defender. We were bringing him up in every single pick and roll and just bullying him. And after 10, 15 trips down the floor where you're constantly getting attacked by Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and even Kristaps Porzingis on some games, you just get tired. So, and your efficient 30, 12, and 10 now starts to look like 22, 7, and 5. And that was just the game plan the entire way.
And then as he's getting frustrated, he's picking up technical fouls and hitting the floor and throwing tantrums. So, yeah. But now he has a LeBron James to do the same thing with him. So, we'll see what happens in the playoffs when they're both upset.
Yeah, that was something I noticed last night, too. There's still very much that essence of Luka. And what I would like to see from LeBron, especially being 40 years old, 22 years in the league, right? I want to see him be like this grandfather figure to Luka. It's like, hey, man, I've been where you've been. I've had to carry this team on my back, and you're not going to, it's better to attract flies with honey than, like just be sweet to the referees instead of barking at them all the time. But you just kind of have LeBron going, yeah, dude, I agree. Keep going.
Yeah. It's like, you know what? You're right. Hey, ref.
Yeah, I mean, I think LeBron needs that. Not necessarily like a scapegoat, but just a guy to kind of just, have his back. And yeah, sometimes you need that.
They just have an anti-ref echo chamber over there in LA now. It's great.
Absolutely. But we were.
I'm excited to see Bronny James in the playoffs guard Kyrie.
Oh my God! Let's not
big minutes. 36 minutes a game, Bronny. Let's do this.
Oh my gosh, we're not about to abuse Bronny's ankles like that.
Shout out to Bronny though, hooping in the G League right now.
He is. He is. I think that a
he's
lot of
there.
people. I think that a lot of people are. They're quick to shit on him when he goes like 1 for 6 in an NBA game, but they're real quiet when he drops a really sick game in the G League. And the G League is still full of a lot of NBA talent. So don't take that stuff lightly. He's not playing too bad.
Yeah, Bronny realistically is probably at worst top 750 player of basketball on the planet, and that's pretty good company. Yeah, you're not going to be your dad, but you can still bust 99% of the planet's ass. That's a pretty good stat to have.
He's like Brian Scalabrine. Like,
yeah,
he's gonna be the Brown Lynch or whatever. Let's call it that. So anyway,
I'm closer to Bronny than you are to me. Yeah, but honestly, I think Bronny he's doing well for himself. That $8 million guaranteed, I think he's doing just fine.
Yeah, he's fine.
Yeah,
fucker.
And he's got Face Clan money, so I mean, he's just really riding high right now.
You're not lying. But yeah, let's shift gears a little bit. We are sitting here with Austin, and he is a Celtics fan. So, without a doubt, I want to get your take on where the East is looking like right now. Like I know that Boston, you've won 10 of your last 11 games. You're looking really nice right now, including a win this month against Cleveland, the other team that other people are saying could be the top of the East. So, all that being said, how are you liking Boston for the rest of the season?
I feel like I am probably in the minority of Celtics fans in my belief in this team, not from what I see on the basketball floor. What I see on the court is proven for winning basketball. We have great players. We have great role players, superstar ability. We have all those things. I am just a natural pessimist. Every season, this past year, we won the champion, right? Parade, yay. This season coming in, I said, you know what? We're probably going to win like 10 games this year. It's going to be a bad season. So then when we win 11, I go, hey, we did pretty good. So I'm always generally down on my Celtics. However, as it pertains for the rest of the East, much like the entire history of the league, the East is not great. The only team that scares me, truthfully, is the Cavs, only because where we can present so many matchup nightmares, Al Horford, the timeless wonder, even though he's a billion years old, he can still stretch the floor. Kristaps Porzingis, when healthy, is phenomenal. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Peyton Pritchard could go for 30 any given night. And even though Drew Holiday is having a down offensive year, he's one of the best defenders in the league. While we can give every other team in the league matchup problems, the Cleveland Cavaliers can do the exact same thing to us. I don't want to have to think about a playoff series where we have to match up and game plan for Darius Garland or Donovan Mitchell or Jared Allen or, God forbid, Evan Mobley. That sounds like a nightmare to me. So because of all of their offensive and defensive versatility, they're the only team that scares me.
Yeah, I mean, that makes all the sense in the world. And I feel like they made that trade mid-season. They got rid of the pieces that they were kind of unsure about. They traded Niang and LeVert, and they brought in DeAndre Hunter, a guy averaging 19 and 4, 40% from beyond the arc, and a guy that's fully capable of being able to guard really talented wing players like Jason Tatum, like Jaylen Brown. So I think that was a really, really solid move. And that's another piece that I'm like, well, shit, they're going to have to be healthy in order to deal with that really talentedly defensive front court, but that while dealing with that insane backcourt as well. So to me, that's a really tough storm. And I think Boston is talented enough to deal with it whenever they're fully healthy, but man, they're going to need Porzingis to play more than 31 games if they're going to have a chance of dealing with that front court.
Yeah, shout out to the DeAndre Hunter too. If you were to look at him through his first contract, the first 4 years in the league, you would have thought this guy was a bust. But to have a year like this in year 6 is nothing but a testament to his work ethic and just feeling at home in who you are. He felt great in Atlanta, and obviously they just had to move on. I don't really know what Atlanta did at the trade deadline. A lot of their moves were confusing to me. But for him to fall up into a situation like Cleveland where you could compete for a championship, what a year for DeAndre Hunter.
For sure. We actually really enjoyed the Hawks moves this past trade deadline.
Yeah, I figured you guys
so actually we were very excited about them. We were like, yeah, do more. Get rid of everybody. With that being said, I mean, DeAndre Hunter, we got busted up by him right, like literally the day before he got traded. And I think he had like 20 something, 26 or so on us and just torched us. So like watching him and then seeing him go to a Cavs team that's already offensive firepower, like, out the ass. And then make him a perimeter defender as well. I mean, there's the Cavs. I mean, I guess not surprisingly, because whenever you kind of think about it, you're like, oh, well, Garland's great, Mitchell's great, Allen's great. I mean, they have great players across the board, and they're able to put it all together. And now you see what happens, and now they're still winning a bunch of games, and they're not really catching anyone off guard anymore. So like in the the first would they win the first like 15 or 17 games, whatever it was this past year. And it caught a lot of people off guard, like, oh, damn, this Cavaliers are pretty good. But, I mean, can they sustain it? And guess what? They have. So we'll see kind of what the matchups look like. But, the East is just a weird time. And, Austin, I'm curious to know, like, how do you feel about the Sixers just kind of disappearing from the top of the East? I mean, they shot down like a rock. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. So in our division, in the Atlantic Division, right, we're supposed to be rivals with everybody. We're not supposed to like the Nets or the Knicks or the Raptors or the Sixers. I don't like that tribalism within the NBA in a lot of things, but within the NBA specifically. I have really good Knicks friends. I have good Raptors friends. I don't know one single Sixers fan, so I feel pretty free in saying this. It doesn't bother me at all. I prey on their downfall all the time because when they're healthy, Joel Embiid is a problem. For all of his faults, for all of his flopping and flailing and free throw merchanting, it's a tough guard for Joel. But to see them act this way, this deep into the season, and not even just from a record perspective, right? There were so many omens for this season. Joel Embiid in and out of the lineup. Paul George looks like half of what Tobias Harris was last year. Jared McCain goes down. And now this, like, all this extracurricular stuff, right? Joel Embiid says he's going to have knee surgery. Paul George is taking a break from Podcast P. Like, there's so much extra stuff going on that they can't even worry about how bad they are in the record. It's so bad, but also it's really funny. I think we can be honest about it.
And anytime Daryl Morey can, like, eat crow and just not get his way makes me just insanely happy.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
I can't stand that guy. But that it's just for me, like, obviously we're in Texas, so we're not privy to all those other games that's going on in the Northeast and like you are. So for us, we're just kind of sitting out here going, I mean, the Sixers were good. I mean, but I will tell you, this podcast, we do not like Joel Embiid. We're not really big fans of him. We torched him in the Olympics. We're like, what's this guy doing on the team? So with that being said, is there any team in the East that could possibly scare you outside of the Cavs? Like, is there a matchup that just kind of is your Achilles heel? I mean, the Pistons with Tobias Harris, when he's on, they're really tough to beat. We still got Giannis in Milwaukee. Is there anyone that you see that, maybe on the lower seeds that could kind of bite you guys in the ass?
It's not the Pistons, even though I do want to give flowers to that team and specifically Cade Cunningham. For the last 2 years, I've actually been a big advocate, prior to you guys getting De'Aaron Fox, of Cade Cunningham teaming up with Vic for the building blocks for your future. I was a huge proponent of that. But to see them thrive in Detroit is really cool. The only team that I think could make a lot of noise is, funnily enough, the Pacers. Their offense is really fun to watch. They have a lot of fun players. Tyrese Halliburton is starting to look like the Tyrese Halliburton we had at the beginning of last season prior to his injury. Pascal Siakam's still doing his thing. They're fun to watch. The Knicks I'm not worried about, only because we have proven that they can't stop us at all. It's going to change a little bit when Mitchell Robinson comes back. It changes the dynamic of their defensive philosophy, but I'm not afraid of them either. And I want to like Doc Rivers. I want to appreciate the Bucks. But as someone who had to watch Doc Rivers coach a basketball game, it's not looking good for the Bucks.
Yeah.
I think Doc Rivers is a great players coach. I think he's a great personnel manager. That guy does not know X's and O's. He knows more X's and O's than maybe us three combined. Absolutely. But in the landscape of actual coaching, he's just not the guy. He'd be a great assistant coach, but he's not going to get it done when the Bucks need it most.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes his substitutions leave your head scratching. Like his rotations, yeah, it leaves a lot to be desired. But I agree. Yeah, he is really tight with the players. The players seem to like him, so he's going to get rave reviews when you're talking to some of the best athletes. But at the end of the day, are you winning games? Is it translating to championships? And I feel like he's been coasting on 2008 for what seems like fucking forever.
Almost 20 years now.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. But yeah, ultimately, yeah, I think there's really not a whole lot of competition for y'all in the East, but you know, the Cavs could be very, very interesting. But I don't think that y'all are going to see any competition outside of them until y'all get to the finals. I mean, maybe that'll be OKC. Obviously, they're playing so well, but you know, maybe it'll be somebody else entirely. Who knows?
Doc Rivers is like the Mike McCarthy of the NBA.
Yeah, that's a good comp. That's a real solid comp.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I'm kind of proud of that one, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, you definitely reached in your bag on that one. But yeah, so I mean, okay, so that's some good Eastern Conference discussion. I like where we got with that. So the Celtics are looking like they could get back to the finals, but if the Cavs are really on one, they could have something to say about it. But yeah, let's shift gears a little bit. Let's make our way to some Jimmy Butler Golden State talk. Okay, AJ, you and I need to really eat crow on this one.
Yeah, man. Whoops.
We were saying that Jimmy Butler was not going to be that guy. We were saying that he's not going to extend Steph Curry's career. He's not going to fit here. So far, they're 6-1. Excuse me, they're 6-1 in their first 7 games,
and we missed that completely. 1, 2, 3 bucks. That's how bad it was.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, dude, he fits perfectly. Like, he really does. He's able to give more space to Buddy Hield and Steph Curry. I guess for me, whenever these disgruntled superstars don't play and they're sitting out and doing all this stuff, you kind of just forget how good they are, because when they do play and they're just disinterested, you're like, oh, they put up 16 and 5. Who cares? But then you realize, oh, when they actually care and they're excited and they're amped up to be on a team that they want to play, they're really, really good, like top 1% good. And that's what Jimmy Butler did when he went to Golden State. And that looks like a completely different team with Jimmy Butler. And him and Draymond seem to be getting along, which is crazy to me. But, you know, I guess it's still – I still think it's kind of in the honeymoon phase. They still like each other. You know, they haven't really farted in front of each other yet, but once they do, you know, that could change some things. So, you know, I think we're still wrong. Our prediction was completely wrong, but we're still early. We'll see what happens after they get through the rest of the season and the playoffs, and maybe an off season whenever, you know, November, December comes around. Let's see what that team looks like and how they do. But as of now, they look great.
Yeah, they do look great. 6-1, like you said. Since the trade, Jimmy Butler's had 18, 6, and 5 with a steal and a half a game, 46% from the floor, 88 from the line. So funny. I had to triple check this stat when I was writing it down. Since the trade to Golden State, this 3-point heavy, this shoot the shit out of the ball offense, Jimmy Butler has shot 9.1% from 3, and he is killing teams. Steph Curry and Buddy Hield, like you said, to your credit, are creating so much space. They're pulling guys out to 30, 32, 35 feet, and Jimmy is just sweeping in and out, going into that space that they're now creating, and it is wreaking havoc on these teams. And Steph Curry, too, like you said, he looks revitalized. Since this trade, 27, 6, and 4 on 49, 38, 86 shooting splits. We thought we thought we had to take Old Yeller out to the behind the barn at the beginning of the season. We thought Steph Curry was done. And now he's putting up really solid numbers. And it's all a testament to a happy, made man, Jimmy Butler. And I mean, how could you not be happy making $60 million a year? So,
right. Yeah, I think that's a solid point. Steph Curry has had some really really great games, but I feel like he's also had some games where he really hasn't he really hasn't had to step up and score 35 a game in order for that team to win. He's had games where he's had 15 a couple of games ago. A few games before that, he had a 12-point performance. So there's some games where if he doesn't have a phenomenal outing or he's not highly efficient, that team can still find other ways to win games because of other players being productive. Where in 2023, if we were to look at that squad and say, hey, Steph Curry's going to have an off night, he's not going to put up 20, would that team even win? Hell no. It's like that squad now has a little bit more balance and they can withstand a little bit of inefficiency because, I mean, frankly, Jimmy's got a little bit of that dog. And when he wants to win, he's going to collapse that defense. And guys like Buddy Hield, Steph Curry, they're going to be wide open.
Yep.
This is going to be such a strange shout. Have either of you seen the anime Kuroko's Basketball?
I have not.
All right, so I'll just run through this really quick. It is exactly what you think in that anime style, right? Every basketball player has superpowers, but there's also these special link ups between players. Jimmy has an ultra link up with Steph Curry on the offensive end. Like I said, he's attacking those spaces that he's now creating, but he also has a super link up with Draymond Green. These two defensive monsters. He's doing it on both ends of the floor. And like AJ said earlier, when we weren't seeing him play, when he was out in Miami due to differences or injury time or whatever the case was, we just kind of forgot. We thought, yeah, Jimmy Butler is 35. Maybe this is the end of his career. And then he gets put into a new situation, gets made with that $60 million a year, and goes, oh, yeah, this is a top 15 basketball player in the world.
Right. Yeah, people forgot about that, and people forgot about playoff Jimmy. And now they're 6-1 in the last 7 games, and they're in the 8th spot. And that's exactly where other teams in the West do not want to see the Warriors, because this is not a team that needs home court in order to make a splash in the postseason. This is a team that knows how to win when it matters the most. And if Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, both big time playoff performers, I see that team making a lot of noise if they're able to sneak in.
Yeah, and don't get that Golden State crowd riled up, man. We've seen it in the past before, and man, it's going to be interesting to see because they're only a half game behind the 6th seed. So if they end up making continue to win, and Minnesota and the Clippers lose or Rockets start to slide, you can see the Warriors might have a nice little track to the NBA championship, possibly.
They could definitely have a sneaky run like they did in 2022, where they had to have a lot of things go right for them to get to that point.
Right.
But to go up in the standings, I think the most likely to fall is the Timberwolves, just because of the construction of that roster. Dante DiVincenzo has been in and out there injury plagued, but also Julius Randle doesn't seem to be working. I think I've been a big proponent of Naz Reid stepping into that role and moving Julius to the bench. But there has been some chatterings now that Naz Reid could make his way to San Antonio to pair up next to Vic. And I got to say, I love that for you guys if that comes through.
Yeah. I mean, perfect segue into some Spurs chat. I love
thanks,
it.
Austin.
Absolutely. Anytime.
I think that would be, honestly, that would be one of the most ideal situations. We've been bitching about our lack of front court depth all season long and last year. We were tired of wheeling out Zach Collins, getting inefficient performance after inefficient performance, and he just wasn't able to defend at all. And Naz Reid fixes all of that. A more than 40% three-point shooter, a guy that's very versatile, has a great handle, can take it inside, finish, and he's also a very he's not a great rim protector. I wouldn't say that he's an amazing rim protector, but he's absolutely good enough to be your team's second best rim protector. Have him step in for moments where Wemby's not playing and have that be still a serviceable front court defense. So I think he is everything that we're missing in our front court right now.
Well, think about the clip for him, too. Big Jelly is good for a highlight reel.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Such a fan favorite. If he was to come to San Antonio, the way that we embrace guys that just are all about just showing out for the fans, oh my gosh. We would have Naz Reid eating barbacoa tacos in no time.
Oh, dude, he's going to be all over the taco scene. I was actually going to say, if Naz Reid wants us to recruit him, we will take him to all the spots necessary in order to do that. And I would be more than happy to take him to all the local spots. We can bring him out. We'll go to Slacker's Bar and hang out with Thunderdome and in the building. And Rudy J and Mike we'll get it all together. And then the next day we'll make him sign a contract. And I just, man, if we got Naz Reid, that it just for us and Austin, like, as a Boston fan, you guys do pretty good in free agency. Like, we don't. The biggest free agent we got was LaMarcus Aldridge, and that's because he was coming to a team that was basically already assembled, and we were just trying to win another championship. So that's what he was doing. But for a Naz Reid to come to San Antonio this offseason would be so big just from us as a free agency destination, because no one wants to come to San Antonio. They always say it's boring. But you know what? We have Victor Wembanyama, and you don't. And I've said that, and I'm going to continue to say that. We have him and you don't. And for someone like Naz Reid, who's looking to continue and get the next big contract, San Antonio is not a really bad place to go do that, because your numbers will go up because we need him to do a lot of the dirty work. So, I would love for it to happen. I'm not going to hold my breath, but we did get De'Aaron Fox and we didn't give up anything for that. So anything can happen. I'm just going to be here with my angel wings, just... Come on, Naz Reid. Let's do this.
It can happen.
It can happen.
A buddy of mine who actually was a big catalyst to me to start this content creation field. He started watching basketball last year, Vic's rookie year. What a time to start. But he was, to him, I was the basketball guy. So he was like poking and prodding me. He was like, who is this? Why is this team important? Blah, blah, blah. And I tried to give him the best advice that I could. But at the end of the day, I was like, you just kind of have to find your muse. Like, you have to watch a bunch of games, see who you like, and just kind of live with the results. And he ends up being a Timberwolves fan, if only for Naz Reid. So I would hate it for him to lose that catalyst for his fandom. But I think it would be really cool to see the front court pairing of Vic and Naz Reid.
Yeah, well, honestly, his fandom in Minnesota is crazy. Like, you see Naz Reid Twitter, and it goes bonkers when he does anything at all. And so to see a small market team embrace somebody like that, who's not even like your superstar guy, he's, sixth man of the year kind of guy for sure, but he's not a household name. And to see that kind of love, yeah, it's. To be honest, that has Spurs written all over
it. Over it. Dude, I mean, he can come in and be the next Patty Mills, honestly, because that's how Patty Mills was for us. Like, not really a household name, but good Lord, the fans absolutely loved him. And part of that was because he was posting on social media, going to the local coffee shops, going to local restaurants, showing off his super hot wife. So it was really cool to see kind of him being involved in the community like that. So, I mean, if Naz Reid can do that, and we can find our next kind of like, Patty Mills, Danny Green type. We talked about that on the last podcast, like who's going to step up and be that flag bearer for San Antonio. Could be Naz Reid.
Yeah, he obviously is down to play in a small market and doesn't necessarily need the limelight to have a fun time playing basketball. Obviously, limelight's not bright in Minnesota. And I think I'm loving that. The idea of that so much is because while we talked about him playing without Wemby and, coming in to back him up, I see them being able to play together just as fluidly. Mm-hmm. Like, they both space the floor. They can both spend some time in interior, exterior, that high-low situation. I imagine that being very deadly because both players are interchangeable, can hit mid-range shots effectively, and have a really, really good post game where you can finish easily. So I don't see why that wouldn't be like a mini version of the Twin Towers.
And I'm sure Naz Reid knows a little bit of French because of Rudy Gobert.
Maybe that'd be a nice bridge for communication there.
Right. Maybe just the curse words. I don't know.
I don't want to be too sacrilegious, but when I first saw the report that Naz Reid could end up in San Antonio, the first thing that I thought of was the pairing of Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins for that little bit of time in New Orleans. We saw how deadly that was. I think it was Brett Usher on Twitter. He's a good follow on there if you guys don't follow him already. They averaged together like 72, like 28, 14, 7 blocks, 5 steals. Like, it was dominating. The team that they had to go up against at the time was the Warriors, and Draymond was not going to be able to handle both of them. And I think it would be to a lesser extent, obviously, because those two were so good at the time, but I think those two could be a light version of that. Now, obviously, Wemby can escalate his game. I think if we're not already at the cap of Naz Reid, skill-wise, not volume-wise, Victor has GOAT potential. So I think at the end of it, it could be similar.
Yeah, I like that comp. That I think that makes sense from a skill set perspective, and you know, if Naz Reid was to come here, yeah, I think the way they complement each other, they could be that productive. I don't disagree with that.
I was just thinking about running a double high pick and roll with De'Aaron Fox, and I think I just hit the bottom of my desk.
Yeah,
Sorry. Whoa, that would be a fun. That'd be a fun offense to draw up. That's for sure.
Right.
And I mean, oh man, this possibilities of the Spurs here in the next few years is really exciting for us. I mean, it's super exciting to see kind of where we can end up. I mean, obviously it sucks with Wemby's medical condition. It sucks to see like Pop with his medical condition and just things like that. But man, our future is very bright. With the Spurs fans, we're a little impatient, not gonna lie, because we want it now and we want to see results. But free agency and the draft coming up, like, and we said this last time, it's the most important summer of the Spurs, by far in franchise history. Because if we don't hit or we have to settle for players, we're going to be kind of stuck in that Houston Rockets, LA Clippers type team and kind of in the standings. So hopefully we can get Naz Reid and then we can get a couple other guys, and all of a sudden we're looking at Boston in the NBA Finals.
Right.
I think it should be mentioned too that Vic has a unique type of gravity to him, not only on the basketball floor, but as a personality, as someone in the media. People want to De'Aaron Fox specifically, reportedly, you know, he never came out and said it, but there were a lot of leaked reports that said that he was only going to go to San Antonio because he wanted to play with Vic. That shouldn't be passed over, because when LeBron was in Cleveland the first time, people weren't doing that for him. When Kevin Durant was in Oklahoma City, they weren't doing that for him. So for Vic to be this young and this good already, for players to go, yeah, that's the horse that I want to hitch my wagon to, is really special.
Absolutely. I think, you know, gravity is a great way to describe it. I think he's already attracting a lot of big name superstars that are, you know, second guessing, like you said, where they want to hitch their wagon. They're thinking about their 5-10 year plan, and Wembanyama, his progression looks really, really nice right about now. And now that we have De'Aaron Fox, yeah, I don't know why a guy like Naz Reid wouldn't make his way over here, but that's the positive side of Spurs
Here
right
we
now.
go.
There's a lot.
If you don't want to hear this, just stop the podcast now and give us a like.
Yeah. We just got double tapped by the worst team in the West. They had the worst record. They beat us twice, and now they don't. So I'm looking at it through that lens. Yeah, we're not playing good basketball right now. I wish that, you know, De'Aaron Fox was playing a little bit better, but the last 2 games, he's 9 for 37. It really looks like surgery sooner rather than later is probably the move. I know that he's going to get surgery in the offseason, but if we're not playing for anything, why push yourself through that discomfort? Why not just go ahead and get it done right now so that you can be further along in your rehab process come next season when Wembanyama is getting healthy as well? So I think, yeah, it's just a very frustrating last couple of games, because I know that we don't want to win games right now. We want more draft capital in the future. But at the end of the day, the way we're losing, it's just bad shooting. It's just frustrating.
I know that it's it'll be a really hard fall for you guys to get up into the draft to get someone even at like VJ Edgecombe, right? I think it's going to be a pretty hard fall to get up there. I've seen the edits. I've seen Cooper Flag in a San Antonio Spurs jersey. That's not going to happen. Atlanta, for some reason, is not tanking either. I don't know. Like, I think there's some good value at the end of the lottery. But again, to your point, if we don't have our prize possession, right, our prize fighter, what is the point? De'Aaron Fox needs surgery. Cool. Send him off. Why not use the last 20, 25 games of the season to develop Steph Castle into what you need him to be, not only for the rest of this season, but for the future? The last 15 games for him, he's averaging 15, 4, 3 with about a steal and half a game, 43, 35, 76 shooting splits. The last 4 games post Vic's announcement that he's out, 7, 4, 1, still and half a game, still, shout out, 29, 11% from 3, and 63 from the field. And I think a lot of that could just be where he's being asked to come off the bench still. But what's the point? He's a high lottery pick. He's coming from a winning program. We see what he can do when he's on. If we're already not winning, throw him out there for 36 minutes a game. What's the worst that could possibly happen?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. We need to be throwing him out there in a lot of different lineups to just get him battle hardened, to just get him tested, because obviously we saw it all-Star weekend. We've seen it consistently in different chunks and different iterations throughout the season. This guy is playing like a 5-year vet right now. He's playing more like a veteran than a lot of the other guys on our team that we've had for several years now. And when I see games where he's getting 11 minutes, 12 minutes, 13 minutes, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like AJ, you were saying in a different episode, you can't get in a rhythm if that's the amount of time you are playing. How is he supposed to gain confidence, get more skilled while that's his situation? I don't get what Mitch Johnson is doing, and to me, his rotations, it's just consistent confusion. And we need to be looking elsewhere for coaching in the future if this is how it's going to be.
Oh, absolutely. And I had a pretty long leash for Mitch Johnson, but last night was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back for me. Just seeing the way that he was coaching, the way that he was trying to be upset whenever we were making mistakes, but it really didn't come across like he was really in control of the team. And then also just not playing Castle for the entire third quarter. Like, he didn't touch the floor in the third quarter when we lost the lead. I can't sympathize with you, man. And I don't care if we don't play rookies as a Spurs organization. That's ridiculous. We've seen this guy score 30 points. We've seen this guy dunk on so many people. We've seen this guy be an absolute lightning bolt to our offense. And you're not playing him? I mean, what are we doing? Like, Austin, those stats are staggering. Like, that's insane of a drop off. If he loses Rookie of the Year, we have one person to blame. To blame.
Yeah, I mean, inconsistent minutes and just absolute confusion about your role on the team. That's what happens when one game you play 27, 28 minutes, and then the next game you play 11, and there's really no justification. And it's just like, oh, the other guys were hot that game. You're going to not play. It's like, bullshit. I don't give a fuck how good our first quarter was. Steph Castle's going to go out there and get his 30 minutes at least.
Yeah, I mean this as respectfully as possible, too. What would it matter if Devin Vassell or Keldon Johnson or whoever got hot put Steph in? Like you said before, we saw what he did in the All-Star break. I'm probably higher on Steph Castle than maybe anyone outside of the Spurs fandom. I actually am a little skeptical to think that De'Aaron Fox is like a permanent piece for you guys. I think that he's like a bridge piece until Steph is ready to take that primary ball handler spot, and potentially trade Fox down the line for this springy defensive wing. In my head, the perfect pairing for you guys would be Asar Thompson to add to Steph and Wemby and all them. But Steph's ready to go. He's proven that he's ready to go. And again, with all the other things, Vic down, De'Aaron Fox probably needed to go down. There is no reason for someone this good to have a high ceiling as he does to not put the ball in his hands. The other day when he had a double-double, right? 10 and 10 off the bench. You're asking your guard to be your leading rebounder. You're asking to just go run the boards. What are we doing? His three-point shot isn't where it needs to be, but his downhill attacking is up there with some of the best that we have in the league today. But you're not seeing it because his ass is on the bench.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's just, as a Spurs fan, you talk to other Spurs fans, and the whole thing is like, well, Pop's pulling the strings behind the scene and he doesn't play rookies and blah blah blah. I'm like, that's cool 25 years ago. In 2025 moving forward, that's not a thing. Like, these players are ready to play out of college now. These players are already getting paid. So they're already understanding how this whole dynamic works. It's not like they're new to money. And also, like, that's how teams develop, and that's how teams get good sooner rather than later. And I mean, I know we've seen Pop around, and he's been eating at different places, and people are like saying hello. That's cool. I'm glad he's on the road for recovery. But I think come the offseason, we need to just figure out who that coach is going to be. Rob said this a bunch of times in Austin. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are. Rob has a really good coaching idea for the Spurs, and I think it's probably one that no one's talking about that should happen. So I'm going to go ahead and text Brian Wright here in a minute. But Rob, who is your coaching candidate to take over the Spurs reins?
I mean, I was saying it a while back. Like, I want Jay Wright. I want Jay Wright to coach the Spurs. I think that seeing how Popovich raved about him whenever they were coaching Olympic basketball together, he said he loved his philosophy. He loved how he was able to get such a young group of players to come together and play at a very, very mature level. And I think that's kind of where we're at as an organization. Like, we're a bunch of young guys that really need some guidance and a coach that can speak to that youth and get that youth to do really great things. And I think Jay Wright is a great example of that. Not only a really, really smart basketball mind, but a guy that is a player's coach as well, a guy who is adored.
I think the Spurs are in a unique position when compared to the rest of the NBA, where since Tim Duncan has gotten drafted, they have been bad. You guys have been bad for like 3 years. Other than that, you've had sustained excellence or something to look forward to like you have now. When you are potentially, and as sincerely as I could possibly say, get well soon, Pop. If this is the last ride, you gave it one hell of a run. You gave everything you could to basketball. We appreciate you. If this is the end of the line for him, I think it's as important as anything. Roster construction, X's and O's. I think it's as important as anything to institute a new pillar into your franchise. And having someone like Jay Wright, who is a proven winner, has been able to build at the college level a winning program. I think it's as good of a coaching hire as you could possibly get, with the exception of maybe Dan Hurley. That's my insane pick for you guys, is to go get Dan Hurley, because he's already tested the waters with the Lakers last year. And if he's ready to get out, because UConn is not winning a third one this year, if he's ready to get out, I think you could entice him with, hey, do you want to coach Steph again? I know you loved him, and I think you'd be willing to listen.
You know who's going to play Castle?
Right. Yeah, that's
Steph,
not
45 minutes a game. Go.
That's true. I mean, that's not a bad call. Definitely a guy that is known for creating a great team environment, and I think he would understand the Spurs philosophy and really understand that the organization is about more than just good players, but it's just about being good people. And yeah, it seems like he would be a guy that would fit well within that. So I don't disagree with that take at all, Austin.
I think the Spurs, too, just as a little side note, are one of the only smaller market teams that actually use that community aspect for its benefit. I think for a lot of teams, like the Milwaukee's, like Oklahoma City, it kind of is like looked at through a negative lens. But anytime that I hear about San Antonio, funnily enough, one of the first things I hear about are the local commercials that all the players do.
The HEB commercials are the best, man.
Yeah, indubitably is something that I say in my lexicon very frequently. So when you're able to use something that small as a superpower, it's so helpful. And I think we could all admit, right? You guys got lucky with Vic. Like, that was a gift from the basketball gods. So with that winning
Adam
culture,
Silver.
Adam Silver froze the envelope, and he did having that
Good
structure
pull.
with a little
Great
bit of luck
pull. Great pull.
is the reason that you guys are going to be successful for 15 years to come.
Yeah, I mean, he single-handedly gave us like you said, 10, 15-year window of somebody to just build a perfect franchise around, and yeah, it was definitely a gift from the heavens. Never forget where I was when I first saw it. I first saw that we got that pick.
Yeah,
But
our phones blew up, man. I mean, they blew up.
Yeah.
I'm sure your phone blew up when the Celtics won and all that good stuff. So, we're just trying to be like you guys. If we can get to, was it 17, 18 or whatever you guys are at now, that would be pretty cool. But
Yeah.
we got a long way to go, and we have a lot more history to have.
Yeah.
Well, if you listen to the 2K Sims, you guys are going to rattle off like 8 or 9 in a row. So your time's coming.
According to my 2K, it's 42. But yes.
Yeah. I mean, those are some optimistic projections. Even if we were to win a fraction of those championships, I would probably be happy with it. But at the end of the day, yeah, I feel like that's been a pretty solid episode, guys. We've gotten to talk about a lot of different things, but I think it's time for some dunks, guys. I think we need to be dunking on some things. AJ, do you want to start off our yam sesh?
Yeah, and I think you guys know where I'm going with this one. I want to dunk on our coach, Mitch Johnson, mostly for playing Steph Castle so little minutes, having bizarre rotations, and also when he gets mad, he looks like a little toddler that got his pacifier taken away from him, like at too early of an age. And so yesterday, whenever he was getting mad, he had this you got timeout. And I'm just like, what are we doing? Like, what's this? I can't take this guy seriously. You can tell he's lost the team. Our coach is Chris Paul. Like, let's be real. Our coach is Chris Paul, and Mitch Johnson's just there as a figurehead. So, and I get frustrated. I'm sure he's not the one making all the calls and all the decisions, but you're the guy. You're the head coach. That's what it says on the sheet. So he just needs to get better with his rotations. He needs to play Steph Castle more, and he needs to go away maybe. I'm over this Miss Johnson thing. It was fun while it lasted, but after last night and losing 2 in a row to the Pelicans, you've been dunked on, buddy.
Yeah. I mean, maybe he's the perfect coach for just while we're tanking. He's just going to be so bad to get us to that point of even worse. And then we remedy that situation in the off season. But yeah, very worthy dunk. Yeah, Austin, who are you thinking about dunking on today? What's really grinding your gears over there?
I want to dunk on America's political climate. There's two things that I want to dunk on. I'll just try to keep them really brief. I originally was born and raised in West Virginia. I have recently moved down south. Why is it so hot all the time? I with my freelance work now, I'm more outside than I was in my desk job. It's like 70 degrees, and I have to change my shirt. It's that hot. Why? I went. It's really not even that far. I went like 3 states down. What's the point? Get dunked on, hot weather in the South. The second thing, why do I have to wait an entire week for the new Severance episode to drop?
That's what I'm saying. Saying.
Netflix has it figured out. You queue up all the episodes. I know that they're done at Apple TV. I know that because you have to greenlight it. Just give me the episodes, especially when we're this close to the end of the season. Just give it to me. Get dunked on.
Yeah, drop the last 3. Not a big deal.
The last podcast I listened to you guys, it was just audio only, so I don't remember who said it specifically, but there was like a 30-second clip where you guys were talking about Jey Uso winning the Rumble, and then immediately following up talking about the Luka trade, and then you were talking about Severance. I'm like, oh yeah, I am of like minds here. I'm in all the way.
Well, we can blank out Rob for a second before he gets to his dunk, because James and I are the wrestling fans, and we've tried to convert Rob for, I would say, Rob, like what, 15 years, if not more, and he's just like, guys, like fuck off. Like I'm not going to watch this. I'm not going to go to the Rumble with you. I'm not going to go watch Raw with you. Just go away. But we got like a little bit of a few people that got into it for a while, and I mean I'm still into it. I love it. I cannot wait till WrestleMania. I'm curious to see what happens. That Rock promo that he did with Cody, I don't know what the hell that was. That was ridiculous. But you know, it's a fun thing to do, and we're in talks potentially. And Austin, we'll get you on because James and I definitely want to have a WWE podcast. Maybe just a WrestleMania one. Rob, I'll talk to you this offline. We're having a production meeting on the air, so we might do a WrestleMania podcast just for like wrestling fans because I mean it's so much fun. The fact that it's 2 days is ridiculous. Let's go back to 4 matches. Let's not price gouge all of us, and also we don't need to see everybody there. So yes, sorry, we went on a tangent, but Rob, who you dunking on?
You're all good. I have no idea what you were talking about.
Better not be WWE but you can dunk on AEW. I dunked on AEW
but honestly, I mean we had talked about it. I think that would be a fun off-season episode where we kind of do a like NBA players doing wrestling or going and doing some wrestling shit. I think that would be a funny crossover episode and would give us an opportunity to like, you know, talk about some wrestling, but also incorporate some basketball into it. I think that'd be fun.
We'll just talk about Dennis Rodman joining the NWO and just do that.
Right. NWO for life. You're in there.
Sorry, Rob. Go ahead. Who you dunking on?
You're good. Yeah, I'm gonna dunk on Austin Movie Gear. I live in Austin, Texas. I work in the film industry here, and there is a company called Austin Movie Gear, and man, they treat all of their equipment like it's just a piece of absolute trash. Like there's scratches and everything. There's little dings. Like half the stuff is missing from the bag when I'm renting it, and you know half the time like I'm on a production and then they're like, oh yeah, we rented some gear for you, and I'm like, well, where'd you rent it from? And then they're like, Austin Movie Gear, and I'm like, motherfucker, like half of the shit's not going to be in there. There's going to be, you know, something I need isn't going to be functioning properly. There's going to be a cable missing, and I'm going to have to call somebody and track it down. And that's happening for my shoot tomorrow. So hopefully Austin Movie Gear didn't fuck me and everything works appropriately. So Austin Movie Gear, you got dunked on, but maybe it'll just be a rim grazer if everything goes well tomorrow. But yeah, everyone, if you are still listening to the podcast at this point, if you just listen to all of these wonderful dunks, we appreciate you for being here. It would not be the same if you were not here. We appreciate all the likes and subscriptions, all of the comments, all of the sharing, all of the wonderful interaction. All of the new listeners from the Love You Hard TV family, everyone that's been enjoying the podcast, we just absolutely appreciate you for being here. Like I said, it would not be the same without you. And yeah, I think we're going to end this episode the same way we end all episodes. Austin, are you going to give us a Go Spurs Go?
Yeah, I might as well. Go!
All right.
Spurs!
Go! Go! Yeah!
We converted one.
There we go.